What would you say to somebody now who is in the market for a property that they want to do a short-term rental on? Should they be doing some due diligence as to does the town have permits still available and things like that?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, welcome to the Colorado High Country Real Estate Podcast, where we talk everything real estate in the High Country. And I've got a special guest, in-studio guest today, Jessica DiStefano. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Dave?
Good. Did I pronounce your last name right?
DiStefano, technically.
DiStefano.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. It's a tough one. But we're going to be talking property management and some other stuff. But let's go ahead and get this thing kicked off. All right. Well, welcome, Jessica.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is exciting.
What you did to your studio here.
Oh, okay. I was going to say you're my first in-studio guest.
Okay. Great.
So I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like it. I worked hard on it. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What is it that you do here in the High Country? What's your job? We'll start there.
Okay. Yeah. So I have been in the Valley for about 9 years now. I have a hotel background. I worked in 9 different properties all over the West and Southwest. But I've been in Colorado for about 9 years. After COVID, it kind of led me down a different path. I was still employed, luckily, but I was needing a change.
Okay.
So I transitioned to vacation rentals, which was actually a very easy transition, just having known like tourism and the hospitality industry and being involved in that in the community already. It was a pretty easy transition. So for the past 4 years, I've been a sales executive for Vacasa.
Okay.
Vacasa, most people know Vacasa, but we're the world's largest vacation rental management company. We manage about 40,000 homes worldwide.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so it's a big company. When I started with Vacasa, we were not a publicly traded company. A couple of years ago, we became. So you can imagine the transitions that we've had over the years.
Yeah, I can imagine. I know how that goes.
Yes, exactly. So lots of changes, but I've still remained a sales executive. I mainly did Vail Vail still is my main market,
Okay.
Which is technically East Vail to Gypsum.
Okay.
But then I also, as of maybe 6 months ago, sell all of Colorado now. So I'm involved we have about 4 different sales executives that sell all of Colorado. So
Okay.
I focus on Summit County, Steamboat, Crested Butte, Aspen, Snowmass, and Vail.
Okay. So you're definitely a pro of all our Colorado High Country towns.
Exactly. Yep. So my job is to partner homeowners with Vacasa's rental management services. So
Okay.
I educate homeowners on market specifics, where they should focus on if they're buyers or specifically buyers, where they should purchase a house and kind of do rental income projections and figure out kind of with aligning with their realtor during the purchase processing, where are you going to make the most money? What makes more sense to you? Depending on your goals. A lot of people that I work with are strictly investors and they only want to rent. And then I have a lot of homeowners, especially here in Vail, who still want to be able to come and go and use their property when they want.
Sure.
Which is the beauty about short-term renting, is that homeowners have the flexibility to come and go and use their properties when they want. And when they're not using it, they rent it out and earn money. The home's taken care of by our local property management care teams.
Okay.
And then it provides jobs to the local community. We have a great local team that services the homes. We have housekeepers, maintenance crew, a variety of different managers. I equate it to the hotel industry a lot.
Okay.
Because it's very similar as far as operationally what we do to service guests and owners and take care of the homes. Yeah.
So property management in general, just sort of give me kind of just a quick explanation of what it is, who needs a property manager, and why would they choose one?
Absolutely. So I can speak more to the vacation rental property management side of things.
Okay.
It's a number of different things, but primarily it's home care. Who's going to be, I'm not here all the time. Who's taking care of my home? Who's, turning on and off the lights, flushing toilets, fixing things, who's cleaning it. So having a local team that actually does that and kind of puts the owner puts that responsibility into the hands of a property manager.
Okay.
For the CASA, we do include maintenance and housekeeping in our management fee.
Okay.
We say minor maintenance, so it's kind of like handyman services,
Okay.
tightening hinges, replacing batteries and light bulbs. We don't charge for those types of things. We just do it and kind of maintain things.
Okay.
We do inspections between every guest stay. Having said that, we can do whatever the homeowner really asks us to do.
Right.
If it's in our scope, and our management teams can actually do it in-house, which we can a lot of the times. But if it's something bigger, like a bigger project, if they need to restain their deck or they need to repaint their house, we can help them find.
You'll help facilitate that.
Exactly.
And stuff. In this area, we have a lot of vacation rentals, like you mentioned. And can you speak to some of I know there's become a lot of regulations around short-term rentals. And from my perspective, I think it's just probably because there's so many of them now that, I don't know, maybe the short-term rental market was just kind of going a little rogue and crazy. So I know some of the local towns and governments have put in regulations. Can you talk to some of that? Because, again, we're focused on the high country on this podcast, and anybody who might be listening, who might be thinking about getting a vacation rental for themselves, they may or may not know about the regulation. So what kind of things have been happening?
Absolutely. It is an extremely fast growing industry. Yeah. And as you can imagine, and everybody's seen it happen, there's just governments and municipalities are really trying their best to kind of keep up with it and figure out, okay, this is happening. What do we do? We want to make sure that there is a balance between, ultimately, this is the goal. We want to make sure that there is a balance between affordable housing and housing for locals, right, and, the real estate and the business of second home ownership.
Okay.
So that's the ultimate goal. I do think that some governments in some areas are a little bit better, okay, for lack of a better word, at really trying to.
Yes, give me after that there, a little delayed.
But like growing so fast that they have to kind of put a moratorium on it and say, okay, stop. Let's figure out why there's so many short-term rentals permits going out. Rather, what do we do about this, and how do we make this balance? And this is just it's growing so fast that we kind of need to take a pause. The negative side of just putting a moratorium and saying, okay, we're not issuing short-term rental permits is because there are so many second homeowners that have these properties and they contribute, when they rent, they contribute sales tax dollars to the local community, jobs.
Right.
Otherwise, if they're not renting, the houses are sitting empty.
Right.
So what can we do as a community to have a balance?
So really it sounds like the main goal of regulations is sort of goes back to local housing.
Right. And creating a balance, making sure that we are putting focus on, HOAs that have some sort of deed restrictions, or maybe, certain HOAs just only allow for locals to stay in or to own. So we have to create these initiatives to make it fair for everybody. Okay. But the fact of the matter is we live in a tourist destination.
Right.
We are all here to ski, right, and for tourism. So kind of going back from my hotel days, there's just simply not enough hotels. There's not enough beds in this area to be able to accommodate the tourism and the tourists that want to come and the demand. So vacation rentals are a must.
Right.
We have to have them,
right,
in order to accommodate the amount of people
that want to come here. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's not going anywhere. People really like to stay in vacation rentals.
Right.
I know when I travel, a lot of the time I stay in vacation rentals.
Yeah, me too.
So I think the Vail Valley in particular has done a really good job with discussing it and researching it and finding a balance to be able to still allow for short-term rentals and putting other efforts into finding affordable, right, and housing for locals as well.
Right. Now, have you personally been involved with any of the talks, or are you on any sort of committee or anything like that?
As of recently, I actually just joined a vacation rental kind of Vail Valley committee. We're meeting for the first time at the
Oh,
end of September.
okay.
There's a handful of other vacation rental professionals that are going to be getting together, and I
Okay.
think that's an important thing. And I'm surprised we haven't yet, but we've had lots of discussions, in like with our community, with the Vail Board of Realtors and Vail Valley Partnership, and I do attend sometimes, mainly streaming when for the town council meetings when they are discussing it, and we have had some good representation from realtors as well, and
Okay.
kind of advocating for the importance of
Yeah.
allowing homeowners to rent and us.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
it's complicated and there's a lot, and it's constantly coming out new rules and things like that,
It
right?
is, and like I said, it's evolving, and I think that the Vail Valley has done a really good job with creating rules. So that, like, for example, in Vail, you have to pass a fire safety inspection now, and you have to have the fire marshal come and do an inspection before you get a permit.
Okay.
You have to have a local contact, which is huge because I think for many years, homeowners in Texas and Florida were trying to manage their rental in Vail,
Right.
and things go wrong. There's no local point
And
of
there's nobody
contact. There's no
here.
one's checking on it. There's no rules,
Yeah. Right.
to follow. So that was causing some issues and kind of setting a bad reputation for renting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think Vail has put together. They have a map, and there's kind of zones, and it's not as strict as, say, Avon. So Avon passed a ordinance, gosh, maybe 2 years ago now, that actually caps the amount of permits that they give
Okay.
to certain complexes. It's like
Okay.
complex
By
to
by
complex.
complex. Okay.
And they have a zoning map as well. So if you're in the town core, then there's really no restrictions.
Okay.
But outside of the town core, there's short-term rental caps,
Okay.
which I think is great. Again, I think that a lot of these smaller units in particular that are, studio 1, 2 bedroom condos, we need to be able to keep those open
Right.
for seasonal workers and for
Absolutely.
longer term renters.
So there are a limited number of permits that each town will issue.
So it's town to town to town, county to county,
Okay.
HOA to HOA. Everybody kind of develops their own rules. So it's important for realtors in particular to educate their clients on what they can and can't do in regards to renting.
Okay.
They always check with professionals like myself and some other rental companies in town that can help them figure out that information.
Okay.
I always direct them to the municipality directly and say, okay, let's check their ordinance. Let's check and see if this particular complex that you're looking at has any short-term rental permits available. If you're unincorporated Eagle County, then there are no permits.
Okay.
So it's easier to rent right away.
Right.
But it's like, where is that unincorporated Eagle County? And so it's really important for realtors to kind of guide their clients and educate them on, if they can, even
before they buy the property.
Even before they buy the property.
In case that's what they were planning on, there's no surprise.
Exactly.
They're like, sorry, you can't do it.
Right. And so I'm happy to provide that information to realtors. It's one of my main jobs, is to really work with the realtors and help them find a property.
So you're a resource.
I'm a huge resource for realtors. And there's a few that, I've been doing this for about 4 years now. So I have a good group of realtors that really use me a lot.
Okay.
And I'm happy to do that. Vacasa is a huge company, and we have so much data.
Right.
So if they want rental income projections that are accurate and pulling data from comp properties nearby and really kind of diving in a little bit deeper rather than just giving a blanket figure, I'm certainly available to help with that.
Gotcha. So why is, for people listening that might be thinking about buying a vacation rental or they own one already, why would somebody want to do a short-term rental versus renting long-term to some locals, let's say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So it really depends. And sometimes you can go into ownership thinking, I really don't want to rent. and my family's going to use it all the time, and we don't want to bother with that. So they look for a property manager specifically, which
Sure.
maybe doesn't handle rentals. They just handle property care. And then after a year, they realize that they only use the house for 2 weeks.
Right. We have a lot of houses like that around here.
Exactly. So what can they do to earn more cover their costs and have somebody take care of the home at the same time, and kind of have the flexibility? So I guess to answer your question, short-term renting is great for people that want to use their homes.
Okay. That's kind of the key there. Is if
Exactly.
they still want to be able to come 1, 2, 3 weeks out of the year,
Mm-hmm.
you've got a short-term rent, I guess. 'Cause you got
Exactly.
long-term
And
renters in there.
right. And we have a lot of owners that stay in their homes all winter long or all summer long, and then they rent the rest of the year.
Right.
So we have complete flexibility with owner usage. So we work around their calendars. It's my job to make sure that they understand that they can't expect to earn a full year's worth of revenue if they're going to be in the house for 3 months.
Right.
So I can break it down month by month for them and kind of provide that information while they're making a decision to rent.
Okay. Another question. Sometimes short-term rentals get beat up, right? Maybe you get some college kids or whatever in, and let's say they cause some damage. Does the property management company take any responsibility for that, or how does that work?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they do take responsibility. So it happens. I think now that I'm selling all over Colorado, I definitely am becoming more aware of clientele that goes to some areas. I mean, a frat group from Denver is not going to rent, a $10,000 a week property.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. But it's just a certain kind of group that I think that attracts renters, in this area. So we actually don't have a whole lot of damage. Theft is really not an issue in this valley. Of course it happens, right?
Sure.
So we do have certain systems in place to compensate owners for that. So for one, our guests actually have to sign a waiver, like a damage waiver, and then also an agreement when they make a reservation that says that they are who they say they are. They're going to abide by the occupancy levels that they're allowed to have. They're a certain age.
Okay.
And that they're not going to damage the property.
Okay.
If they do damage the property, we have a damage waiver. So the guest pays, a small percentage off of their nightly rent goes to a damage waiver. It's like $5.
Okay.
But that covers them up to about $3,000 worth of damage. So we use that a lot for like little wear and tear things that happen. I always use the example of someone spilling wine on a rug or a carpet. If we see that, when the guest leaves, they'll either tell us or we'll see it, and we take that money to get the carpet cleaned.
Okay.
And get to fix something, up to $3,000. So that's kind of in place to just kind of maintain things and fix things, and so we take that money out of the damage waiver. Anything over that, I know you were getting to that. Yeah. We do. For one, homeowners should have homeowners insurance,
right?
That would cover those types of things. But Vacasa in particular does have a partnership. It's called the Accommodations Protection Program, and it provides coverage on the nights that are rented. So up to $1 million of personal liability, $1 million of property damage, and $30,000 of personal property.
Wow. So
another example that doesn't happen a whole lot, but sometimes things happen.
Yeah.
I had a guest that was up at a house in Cordillera, had a huge, really nice fireplace, and the guest opened the glass a little bit too hard,
right?
Shattered the glass.
Okay.
Of course, it costs like $20,000
to replace. Of course.
So that protection program came into play, and the beauty of it is that Vacasa actually files the claim, gets it reimbursed and replaced for the owner, so that they don't have to do it. They have to pick out the glass or whatever it is. If the table breaks, they have to pick out the table. But we handle it for the owner 100%.
Okay.
And it's really easy for our operations team to file the claims, and they love when owners opt into this,
right? Yeah,
because it's just that extra coverage. So that's one thing that Vacasa in particular provides to our owners for liability and for damage protection.
All right, that's good. You also mentioned liability just now, and I was going to ask you about this. So as people out there may or may not know, I own Tiger Home Inspections and Tiger Radon Mitigation. But being in the home inspection business, liability is always in the forefront of my mind. We carry a lot of liability when we enter someone's home and we're going through it and turning things on and operating systems.
Mhm.
What type of liability does an owner have when they do a short-term rental?
Right. So it's a pretty complicated discussion that we can have about that. But, I always, again, revert to their homeowner's insurance. Think of it as if an owner was renting or not even renting, if they had a guest come to their house and someone gets hurt at their property.
Right.
It's very rare, but like one time I did have this discussion with an owner when their deck collapsed and a guest of was a non-rental at the time, somebody that they knew was hurt badly.
Wow. Okay.
That's when your homeowner's insurance policy comes into play, and you have separate.
Well, what can a homeowner do to lower their liability exposure?
Well, for one is when we sign on a home, we have to make sure that it's a quote unquote healthy home. So we do initial inspections prior to going live, during our onboarding time, the period between when an owner signs to when an owner has a live listing and is accepting guests to their homes. So we have a inspection process and we make sure that, things are safe, really, that we have everything that we need to be rental ready, but also that things aren't falling apart. And, that deck looks a little wobbly. You need to get that fixed before we accept guests to your house.
Right.
So we do an initial inspection. If we see anything, we take care of it, or we help the owner take care of it prior to renting. If not necessarily in the Vail market, but in some other areas that I've come across, sometimes the homeowner's not there a whole lot, or it just it's a little bit lower quality, or whatever the case may be. But we have the ability to say we can't rent this.
Right. So you'll turn people away.
We can turn people away, yes. And they just need to fix things, and they need to make sure that everything's safe.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the liability is on the homeowner, so it's their responsibility to make sure that their home is safe.
Okay. And the reason I ask this is because with my home inspection company, we actually had recently started short-term rental inspections, which we're basically calling kind of safety and compliance inspections. So meaning, like you said, is your home safe? Do we have smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors? Are deck railings loose? Are the decks themselves safe or not? Things like that our outlets and GFCI outlets working properly. And so it's all kind of been on the front of my mind recently as to the liability that an owner takes on. And so that's why I bring it up. And
right. Yeah, it is. It's a concern for a lot of homeowners, for sure. We do have those discussions where it's like, what am I responsible for? And what happens if this happens? What's the process? And so we can loop in our legal team too and have those more in-depth conversations if they really have, specific examples. But when it comes down to it, their homeowner's policy and this protection plan really covers a lot of that.
Okay.
That liability. And then also with for the town of Vail, with the fire marshal that has to come in and do the fire safety inspection, they deny people.
Wow.
They will say, this is not safe.
Yeah.
You have to, your application is denied.
Wow. Yeah.
So it happens quite a bit, actually.
Okay.
So they want to make sure that there's mainly no fire risk, or to make sure that there's as less fire.
And they're also probably checking for carbon monoxide detectors and things like that as well.
And we do an initial inspection, and we have to make sure that there are fire extinguishers on every level, and that they have the smoke detectors and the carbon monoxide detectors, and we carry them in the car, our property managers do, so that we just, during our initial inspection, we just fix them and we swap them out. And then, of course, we have the fire marshal come and kind of give the stamp of approval when they go through.
Okay. So what's the current state of vacation rentals? Over the last, maybe 5, 6, 7 years, a lot of people have been buying vacation rentals. The towns have come in with regulations and limiting the number. What would you say to somebody now who is in the market for a property that they want to do a short-term rental on. Is it a lot harder to get into? Should they be doing some due diligence as to does the town have permits still available and things like that?
Absolutely. Yes. They 100% have to be doing their due diligence prior to buying a home, or even if they've had a home for 20 years and they've never rented it before, you have to kind of understand what regulations are out there. And like I said, start from a county level, town level, HOA level. They all sometimes have their own regulations. So
Right.
we can work around a lot of them, and we can help with our compliance team and make sure that we are compliant and help them obtain a short-term rental permit. But ultimately, they have to be aware of
Okay.
what's going on.
What would you say to a homeowner that let's say they want to buy in Vale,
Mhm.
and Vale says we only have, this is just hypothetical, we have 100 short-term rental permits and they're all used. What option does then a homeowner have? Is there a waiting list or something like that?
Yes. So there are waiting lists. They can always apply for it and just kind of wait to hear from them. And I would suggest reaching back out. Most counties, most towns have like a short-term rental person in the office. That's their
Right.
job.
Okay, right.
So to just kind of check back with them and make sure that, where do I stand on the permitting process? We do have other options, though. So because of all of these regulations and restrictions, Vacasa has developed a program called the Extended Stay Program, which actually allows for rentals from 30 to 90 nights.
Okay.
So short-term rentals is reservations up to 29 nights.
Okay.
That's where all the regulations are in place. That's the permitting. That's the
Okay.
requirements. That if you want a short-term rent,
Gotcha.
it can be a little trickier. The ESP program is a way for one to kind of get around it in a way, but also just allow for some owners don't want a short-term rent. They don't want people, 5 group of guests coming and going in a month. They want the same guests for 3 months.
Right.
So that is an option. It's the same management fee percentage, which is 26% for Vacasa in the Vale area. It's the same marketing and advertising and listing creation and everything that we do from collecting a booking, but it's just advertising for that 30 to 90 nights. And you can also do both. You can do extended stay and short-term rent if you can still get the rental permit. You still have to pay all the fees and everything that happens with short-term, but extended stay is another option.
And there's no permits with the extended stay to kind of skirts that
there's
rule
not.
a little bit?
It is. The state of Colorado does recognize this program as a real estate transaction. So that is another reason why I got my realtor license.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. You were telling me off camera that you recently got your real estate license. Tell me a little bit about why you decided to do it and how long did it take? Was it hard? What was it like?
Yeah, sure. So because of this program in particular, because there's at the time, gosh, when did I get it? In July. Prior to that, there wasn't anybody selling it.
Okay.
There wasn't anybody with my company that was licensed.
Okay.
So it was privy of me to get the realtor license because I'd be the only one who'd be able to sell this. So
Wow.
this is
the extended stay program.
The extended stay program.
Yeah, and you said earlier that that's considered a real estate transaction.
It is.
I don't get that.
Yeah. So it's basically the same agreement, except we have to provide all of the disclosures. There's more. It's more of like signing like a real estate agreement.
Just to stay at a place for 60 days or 30, 30.
For an owner to rent their place. It's kind of like a lease agreement.
It's almost like a lease, more like a regular lease. Okay.
Right. So you have to be licensed in order to produce these agreements and to negotiate them and to even talk about them. You have to be licensed.
Okay.
So that's one of the main reasons why I got licensed. And then also my referral business. Off camera, we were talking about how when I first started, I was handing off a lot of buyer and seller leads to realtors.
Okay.
And because I wasn't licensed, I didn't get it. I'm not allowed legally to accept any sort of commission from that. So now I do not buy and sell houses.
Okay.
So with my license, that's really important for realtors to know because I'm not competing. I'm not taking their business away from them. Although I'm licensed, I'm not buying and selling houses. So what I can do with my license is now get referral commission.
Okay, great. It was all you realtors out there. If you need short-term rental referrals, talk to Jessica. Um, first of all, when did you how long have you had your license?
Well, I've had it for about 3 months now. I'm still kind of in the process of going through the ethics class. So when you get a license, you actually have to register with a local board of realtors. So I
Okay.
did that. I've been an affiliate with the Vail Board of Realtors for
Right.
many years.
Same
But
with my company.
yeah, so yeah, we always see each other at
Yeah,
all
at the events.
events.
And yeah.
So now I'm an actual realtor. We have a separate LLC for this
Okay.
that is specifically for the ESP program. So that's kind of where I hang my license, so to speak.
Okay. So so you're sort of hanging it with Vacasa.
I am hanging it with Vacasa. I'm not buying and selling houses, but I'm able to do this program and get and do realtor referrals. So that took it's a little challenging. State by state, they have different rules and procedures to obtain a license. Here in Colorado, I think it's 168 hours of coursework that you actually have to take.
Okay.
I did mine through a program called the CE Shop.
Okay.
And it was online.
Okay.
And it takes time though. It's like you have to read everything. It's a lot of information.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Was it hard or just a lot?
I think it was just very time consuming.
Yeah.
I'm also a mother of two, and life it's busy.
Yeah. All right, so we had some technical difficulties here in the studio, but I think we're past them, and we are ready to keep talking with Jessica here. So I forget exactly where we left off, but I think we were just kind of wrapping up, actually.
Yeah, I think we were talking about just how to obtain a real estate license.
Right.
And just my experience with it. So yeah, I'm excited about it, and it's always nice to have an extra certification.
Absolutely, for sure. You can't have too many certifications. Hey, so you said you're a resource to realtors and to sort of general public, really.
Mhm.
How do people get in touch with you? How do they find you?
Sure. So yes, I do have a amazing realtor and professional referral program. So if again, you don't have to be just a realtor. So if you're somehow involved in, like, I had somebody who worked at Rugs Benedict give me a lead recently.
Okay.
And I was able to pay them. So realtor or a professional of any sort. If you have a client that is looking to purchase a vacation home, or they have a vacation home and they're looking to rent it, if they sign with me, with Vacasa, then I give you a referral bonus of $500 per bedroom, up to $1,500.
Okay.
So we send out checks all the time. I have a pretty strong referral business. But again, I'm here to help you and to help you find a vacation home for your clients, and help you sell a property. Sometimes we do what's called a change of ownership, where we're managing a Vacasa home and the listing agent reaches out to me for like historical data and rental projections to help them sell a property. Make sure you do that. If it's not even just Vacasa, if a home is under a property management contract,
right,
please reach out to the property manager
Okay.
and get that information from them. You'd be surprised how many people don't do that.
Yeah.
And it just causes a lot of problems down the road when
Yeah, I'm sure.
new owners don't even know that there's $60,000 of reservations on the books when they buy the home. That's happened before.
Wow.
Let's not let that happen again.
Yeah, that's great advice.
So anyway, you could reach me, Jessica.DeStefano, DeStefano @Vacasa.com.
Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm part of the Vail Board of Realtors. I'm sure if you are, you've seen me around, and you can ask Dave for my contact information if you don't have it, but happy to help you any way I can.
Okay. Yeah, you can always put in some comments below. You want to get in touch with Jessica or something. But this has been great. I think it's been really informative. I think there's a lot more to property management than people realize.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been great. I really appreciate your time today.
Sure. Thank you. It's fun to talk to you and chat about it.
Yeah. And hopefully for the listeners out there, who are thinking about getting into a short-term rental situation, or even just a home for themselves, but they want a management company.
Mm-hmm.
I think this has been great info, and hopefully some people got some great information out of this. So thanks for your time, and really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave.
Okay.